This is Northern Ireland, showing the main holiday points. Half of its scalloped border runs inland, travelling over rich farmland and peaceful lakes. The other half skirts sea-girt mountains, ventures up deep sea lochs, through towns and fishing ports, along great strands of sand as luminous as pale Irish gold. Come with me on that journey, along the fair coast of Ulster, the most historic coastline in all Ireland, where even in these modern days the holidaymaker can still listen to the legends and ballads of this changeless countryside. This is Londonderry, Derry of the Oaks, where 1400 years ago St. Columcille sailed out to found Iona. Throughout those long centuries, Derry has written its name into history. Its handsome Guildhall holds relics of those stirring days. Its walls were built by the merchants of London and withstood the great siege of 1689. Today, they're pleasant promenades, and where the men of Derry stood to their guns, flowers nod in the soft breezes from the River Foyle. And the city itself has long since spread out beyond its encircling walls. Benevena. This great head lies above McGilligan Strand, where they held horse races in the old days and motorcycle races in more recent times. But we can take it at a more leisurely pace through the pleasant village of Castle Rock, for ahead of us lies one of the most famous beaches in the British Isles, Port Stewart Strand. And its beauty isn't confined to the scenery. There's elbow room for everybody on this great beach, and those tumbling green waves, they're fresh in from the broad Atlantic. How many grown-ups sigh again for the golden hours they spent at this pool, or just messing about in boats. This young lady seems to be recapturing her childhood, here and on the sunny promenade. We shall catch a glimpse of the Scottish Isles on our journey along the 3 miles of sea road that leads to Portrush. Portrush, the port of the headland, and on this Rathmore Head, high carnival is held in the summer months. I wonder what Charles Lever, the Victorian novelist who lived in nearby Port Stewart, would have thought of this charming little crinolined lady. Portrush shares with the other Ulster seaside places that lovely quality, gay but not tawdry. If you want good company, here it is at the bathing pool or on the strands, for Portrush has 2 magnificent beaches. Or if you're a golfer, you'll find it on these world-famous courses, paradise for golfers, though I warn you that the Championship 14th is called Calamity Corner. You may want solitude. Who doesn't want to be alone occasionally? And it's here on the East Strand, a golden highway leading to one of nature's cathedrals in stone. white rocks. Dunluce is a name written deep in the history of Northern Ireland. For centuries, the banqueting hall of this great castle sounded to the footsteps of the chieftains of Antrim and their ladies. Now, only the gay voices of holidaymakers and the salt sea wind echo among these haunted walls. While great castles moulder and fall away, here's a natural wonder that has withstood the fury of the sea for thousands of years. Geologists say that the Giant's Causeway, with its 40,000 vertical columns, was formed by a great stream of cooling lava. That fails to convey the wonder of this natural amphitheatre, or of the Giant's organ, which is said to sound every 7 years. I prefer the old tale of how Finn McCool, the Irish giant, built it when he wanted to take a trip to Scotland. By all accounts, Finn was a lazy rascal who left all the household chores to his mother. I like to think he did one honest day's work in his life. This magnificent strand, White Park Bay, belongs to the National Trust. Its beauty cannot be destroyed. Traces of Ulster's early invaders have been found here, the men of the bronze sword and the salmon spear. And this is Carrick-a-Reed, which means the rock in the track of the salmon. For the men of the Antrim coast are skilled fishermen, although not all of them have to cross a spider's web bridge to reach their nets. Ballycastle Bay is hemmed in by massive Fair Head, home of the golden eagle and the peregrine falcon. Off Ballycastle lies the island of Rathlin, where Robert the Bruce met the spider and Marconi sent his first messages across the Atlantic. All summer round, the beach and the famous tennis courts are gay with laughter and play. If you're here in August, the Lammas Fair is a sight worth seeing, and yet you're likely to come under a spell here, a kindly one, for Ballycastle is the threshold of the 9 glens of Antrim. They say that the glen's ponies are descended from the native Sheltie and an Arab stallion that came ashore from a wreck off the village of Cushendun. I'm not surprised, for you needn't expect the ordinary and commonplace in this land of mountain stream, glen and moorland, soft speech and ancient names. For many of the glensmen trace their families right back to the armies of Bonnie Prince Charlie. The Antrim glens glow with colour. Fuchsia hedge, white cottages, russet and silver streams running to the sea. It's not by chance, then, that some of Ireland's most distinguished artists have settled around the lovely villages of Cushendun and Cushendall. The Antrim Coast Road was the inspiration of a young engineer, William Bald. Sitting at tea one night, puzzling how he could throw a roadway over these remote mountain tops, he noticed that the front of the cake crumbled under his knife. There was the answer. With explosives, he sliced down the face of the cliffs to the water's edge and laid on the fragments one of the most majestic sea roads in all Europe. Another bend or two of the road, and we shall be in the town of Larne. This is the gateway to the glens. Indeed, it's one of the chief gateways to Northern Ireland. Larne itself is at the foot of a little glen, and I've spent many happy summers there among its kindly people, without any great desire to wander further afield. Our road swings away from the sea to where White Head, with its wonderfully patterned beach of black and white pebbles under a crystal clear tide, shelters in the coast of Belfast Lough. Further down the lough is the great Norman castle of Carrickfergus, the stage door through which monarchs and marauders stepped into Northern Ireland's history. But don't mention Belfast Lough to a Carrick man. Belfast Lough, he'll say. Sure, it was Carrickfergus Bay before Belfast was ever thought of. But today, the cross-channel boats glide up the quiet waterway to berth in the heart of Belfast, the capital of Northern Ireland and the seat of government at Stormont. I needn't remind you of the Irish linen you can expect to see displayed in the shop windows, for this is the home of that peerless fabric which has contributed so much to the fame of the city and of the province. Mind you, Belfast is more than a great industrial city. Outside the city hall, in the baskets of flower sellers, you'll find roses from the famous nurseries of County Armagh and County Down. Though Belfast is young among capital cities, it carries its honour with modest pride. Here, in Bangor, we look across Belfast Lough and its visiting luxury liner to the Antrim Hills, for we've crossed from County Antrim into County Down. Antrim for men and horses, County Down for bonny lasses, and I can think of no place where you're more likely to find them than right here in Bangor. If a holiday resort can be said to have everything, then everything can be said for Bangor. Oh, it's warm out here. And if you want peace and quiet, here it is, in Ward Park. Even a sedate game of bowls. Though they tell me you have to be pretty good, for they play international stuff here. See what I mean? Yes, Bangor has many memories for me, in boats and out of boats. But I particularly remember one day when an elderly gentleman on this beach at Ballyholme saw a small boy struggling in his mother's arms at the water's edge. "Ah, come on now," he said. "Be a brave wee fella. Have your bathe, and there'll be a bright, shiny sixpence for you." "Oh, thank you," said the harassed mother. "But I'm not trying to get him in. I'm trying to get him out." That small boy was me. Donachadee. This name tickled Thomas Hardy. The first packet boats, little sailing ships, sailed to Scotland from this port. These lucky fishermen are preparing to set out at sunset to stream for live, blocken and mackerel, or drop their hand lines for codling and plaice. The Vikings named this loch Strangford, the fierce inlet, for thousands of tons of green tide water surge into it from the Irish Sea. Yet here at Strangford Yacht Club, all is peace and marine beauty as the yachts, river, glen, flying 15s thread their way among the hundreds of islands that stud the lough. Above the loch is Killinchy, home of the famous Killinchy muffler, very popular with forlorn maidens. A Kelinchi muffler is the sleeve of a young man's jacket with his arm still in it. For a long time now in our journey, the peaks of the Mournes have beckoned from the horizon, and here in Newcastle we stand at the feet of these legendary mountains that sweep down to the sea. Smooth beaches bind this meeting of mountain and sea, golden ribbons of sand and sun under the great granite peaks. It's not every holiday resort that has a range of famous mountains at the end of the street. There's an annual race to the top. Someday you'll climb them yourself. But meantime, there are so many things to do in Newcastle and so many nice people to do them with. Well... If you're a golfer, you'll have heard of the Royal and Championship course at Newcastle. Big in length and big in bunkers, as they say. That's right. Keep the head down, and it'll go rattling to the bottom. Oh, no, not you, sir. Oh. Ah, that was better. There are fishing folk who live along this Mourne coast, putting out from their quiet little ports after the silver herring. What with one thing and another, it's a strenuous life, particularly when the salt spray gets into the throat. Our journey has taken us into Carlingford Lough, another Viking name, and here at Rostrevor we're still in the kingdom of Mourne. Kindly Mourne, where if you ask for a cup of tea, they'll give you bacon and eggs. At Warren Point, farther along the Lough shore, it's said that the waters of Carlingford are magical. The story goes that a visitor wanted some of the water, and a boatman filled a bottle, charging him sixpence. Later, the visitor arrived back at the beach when the tide was out. Bid the heavens to see to the boatman, you've sold a lot today. The truth is that all the waters of the Northern Ireland coast are magical, whether they run under ancient castles, or thunder against cliffs, or cream on great golden strands. And the welcome and friendship of the Northern Ireland people are like blackberries in the hedge. There for the taking.